Viewer discretion is advised for this educational documentary. Has love ever driven you to do something a little crazy? Maybe to do things that you normally wouldn't do? Say things that just aren't quite the real you? I think all of us can admit we're guilty of love changing us sometimes in some ways. We're all human. But where is the line between being crazy in love and just pure crazy, obsessed, or dangerously jealous? The case of Kendra Hatcher explores just how deep and dark those feelings can become. Welcome back to CASE Documentaries. I bring you true crime, disturbing stories and other things that you may later regret knowing, with at least 2 new videos every week. Please do join the quickly growing CASE family by hitting subscribe now and turning on notifications. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me. Our love and respect goes out to those that knew and loved Kendra. Kendra Hatcher was born and raised in Pleasant Plains, Illinois, and attended dental school there before relocating to Dallas for employment. She had just signed a contract to work at Smile Zone, a dental surgery. The job appeared to fit her well. Kendra was a devout Christian who wanted to use her training as a dentist to serve the community. Children from underprivileged households could receive top-notch dental care at Smile Zone. In my opinion, a very worthwhile career move. Kendra spent her free time volunteering and provided free dental care for children in Ecuador. She also taught Bible study. Both Kendra's personal and professional life were thriving. Her career was on the rise. A relationship blossomed between Kendra and Dr. Ricardo "Ricky" Paniagua. Even though they had only been dating for a few months, and Ricky was finishing his dermatology residency at the University of Texas, they had already talked about getting married. The couple had their first date on May the 24th after meeting on Tinder. Ever since then, they were inseparable. They shared the same ideals and aspirations in life. Kendra Hatcher, now 35, on Wednesday, September 7th, 2015, arrived home as she pulled into the Gables Park 17 parking lot. Gables Park 17 was a colourful and opulent apartment building with a saltwater infinity pool, a fitness studio, and a gourmet coffee bar in uptown Dallas, Texas, in the United States. She felt safe living there because there was a 24-hour concierge service, there was CCTV and security. She arrived at 7:42 p.m, excited for the weekend ahead, in which she had plans to go to Mexico with Ricky for Labor Day. 2 males that were walking through the parking lot heard shouts and then heard a loud popping bang noise. Just a short while after, Kendra pulled into her parking space. A Jeep Cherokee was seen accelerating out of the garage after these loud noises were heard. A resident of the apartment building, Hashem Saad, heard screaming and dialed 911. Police quickly arrived to the luxury apartments. There they found Kendra, still in her car. She had already, sadly, passed. The loud popping bang noise apparently came from a firearm. Because Kendra's purse had been taken, it was initially assumed that a robbery had occurred. A pistol magazine and bullet fragments were discovered on the ground next to her body. Police concluded, however, that the nature of the shot did not suggest that it was a robbery. As they looked further into the situation and assessed the evidence that was present, it all pointed towards an execution. When the shot was discharged, Kendra's hands were up and behind her head according to the gunshot residue discovered. Her upper skull provided the entry point for the projectile, and it exited through her chin. But who would do this to Kendra? She was reportedly liked by everybody. She was charitable, she was professional, she was kind and loving. She was known to help anyone in any way that she could. The apartment complex security footage was obtained by the police. A Jeep Grand Cherokee was seen in the video entering the parking garage at 7:15 p.m. At 7:42 p.m, the video showed Kendra driving into the same garage after returning home. A man was then seen on the footage approaching Kendra's car, and then shortly afterwards he was seen on the footage heading back towards the Jeep. According to the police, this was their main suspect.
Investigators are hoping the images of this older model Jeep Cherokee with damaged or faded paint on the hood with paper license plates may jog someone's memory. The rims are distinctive, and it's hard to tell whether the driver is a man or woman.
Anything more solid than just this picture of the Jeep right now? At this point, no, but I can tell you I spoke with the medical examiner's office late this afternoon, and I am told that Dr. Hatcher did die of a single gunshot wound to the head and neck. Close friends come to cry, pray, and remember 35-year-old dentist Dr. Kendra Hatcher. She was shot and killed Wednesday evening in the garage of her uptown Dallas luxury apartment.
The security footage showed that there was a second person present. It was a woman in the driving seat of the Jeep. The woman accelerated out of the garage as soon as a man climbed back inside the car. However, it wasn't clear enough for authorities to be able to identify them, so they turned to the public for assistance and shared photos of the Jeep and its driver with the media. A man named Jose Luis Ortiz called the police and admitted that the Jeep belonged to him, but he said he wasn't involved in the attack, nor was he driving the car. According to him, Brenda Delgado and Crystal Cortez, two of his acquaintances, asked him if they might use his Jeep on the morning of September the 2nd. They informed him that Crystal's normal vehicle was having mechanical problems, and they left it with Jose so he could fix it. He reportedly allowed them to use his Jeep whilst he was working on Crystal's car. Brenda invited Jose to meet at a Chili's restaurant that evening, and he accepted. They were scheduled to return the Jeep to him that evening after work, but both Crystal and his Jeep never turned up. Jose said to the police that Brenda was with him at the restaurant at the time of the attack. Later that evening, the Jeep was eventually returned back to Jose's house. As far as police could tell, Jose wasn't expecting his Jeep to be used as a getaway vehicle. He said that he only became aware of it after seeing the police's appeal and recognizing his own car. Brenda was questioned by Jose. She responded to his inquiries by denying that it was her in the Jeep, but she subsequently added that Crystal had used it to drive to Kendra's apartment complex to buy drugs, and that whilst there, something had likely gone wrong. Brenda advised Jose not to say anything. She said because it was his Jeep, he may get in problems with the police and endanger his citizenship. This is according to Jose's account to the police. He sensed that Brenda was just attempting to control him. Brenda allegedly proposed that Jose paint the Jeep a new colour and she would cover the cost. Jose, now incredibly suspicious and concerned, reported the incident to the police. Police contacted Brenda Delgado and inquired about Kendra. Brenda admitted to the police that she had never seen Kendra and that she had no idea who she was. When the police asked Brenda where she was at 7:42 PM on September the 2nd, she said that she was with Jose at a Chili's restaurant and produced dinner receipts. She was questioned by police regarding Jose's Jeep. Brenda claimed that she was innocent and she simply handed the Jeep's keys to Crystal. The police then set their sights on Crystal. Crystal Cortez was a single mother and was 23 years old. They questioned her about whether or not she was the woman seen driving the Jeep in the video. She first told authorities that on that night, an armed carjacker forced her to drive to the parking garage in the Jeep. She informed the police that she was there with her 9-year-old child, suggesting that doing what the carjacker said would protect both her and her offspring. However, the video proved that there was no child in the Jeep. This was her first provable lie. Crystal then revised her story. She now claimed to have driven the man to the garage voluntarily and that there had not been a carjacking. But she also said that she believed it was only going to be a robbery. She strangely stated that she had no knowledge of the shooting, which would be strange as she was at the location at the time that it happened. Even though she now said that she did believe it was for a robbery, the police asked why she consented to drive there in the first place, and she responded that it was because Brenda had requested her to. She then informed the police that Kendra was dating Brenda's ex-boyfriend, and that this must be the reason why Brenda targeted Kendra. From 2012 through to the start of 2015, Brenda and Ricky had a sporadic relationship according to the police. In February 2013, Ricky ended the relationship with Brenda for good and started dating other women. Ricky knew that it was serious when he met Kendra in May, so out of politeness he sent Brenda an email to let her know that he was now in a committed relationship. Brenda wasn't happy when Ricky started dating Kendra, but Ricky was unaware of just how scorned Brenda was. She appeared fine and expressed her wishes that they could continue to be friends. Ricky, though, must have had some level of suspicion about Brenda. He purposefully never told Brenda Kendra's name. Crystal, now realising that she could be in real trouble, sought to negotiate a plea agreement and decided to testify in exchange for a lighter punishment as the questioning went on and the evidence against her grew. She told the police that Brenda had planned the murder and wanted Kendra permanently out of the picture. Crystal claims that after meeting Brenda, she started preparing for Kendra's slaying just 2 weeks later. So how did things escalate so quickly? When Brenda's relationship with Ricky ended, the police found that she wasn't simply sad about it. She was also fascinated and obsessed with Ricky. She was utterly determined to get him back, no matter what the cost. Despite the fact that her life had begun to fall apart around her, she feigned to Ricky that she was content with just being friends, but she started skipping work and her grades began to fall. She instead started working on getting Ricky back as if it was her full-time job. Brenda hacked Ricky's email account and cyberstalked both him and Kendra, learning about their travel arrangements and planned activities. She started to dislike Kendra. She thought that Kendra had replaced her, stolen a life that should have been hers. Crystal claims that Brenda said that she wanted to get rid of Kendra Hatcher. Crystal agreed to assist Brenda when she asked if she knew anyone up to the grim task of eliminating Kendra. They immediately began devising a scheme. They got together frequently and came up with a variety of plans. Initially, they intended to pull the trigger on Kendra after injecting her with a sedative. Brenda questioned Crystal, who was living in a poorer area, about whether she could find someone to carry out the execution. They drove around and approached various individuals to see if they might assist. Later, they encountered Christopher Love, a man that was willing to help. He agreed to assist and they spoke about several strategies for taking Kendra out. They all agreed that a simple firearm would be the most effective method of execution because it would be quick. According to Crystal, Brenda agreed to give her $500 in exchange for her part in the execution, and Christopher Love was to be given a mixture of money and narcotics. A plan was devised to end Kendra on September the 2nd because they knew she and Ricky had plans for the Labor Day weekend. They knew that the couple would be leaving Dallas on September the 3rd to take a vacation in Mexico. Brenda knew that they had plans to then go to San Francisco when they returned back, so she knew they had to do it before then. Since Brenda had put Ricky's iPhone account onto another phone and used that to track and stalk him, she was fully aware of all their plans and activities. Brenda stated to Crystal that she wanted the hit to seem like a botched robbery. Brenda and Crystal made a decision to follow Kendra to observe her day-to-day activities. By doing this, they believed they would be able to pinpoint the perfect location for the attack. They tailed her car to work. Brenda and Crystal sat outside a Salvation Army and watched her through binoculars. They then followed her home from work and figured out how to get into the parking garage. They discovered that if they parked in a visitor's space first and then followed another car into the garage, that there would be no trouble in getting inside. To be sure that these routines were regular and nothing changed, they repeated their routine of stalking for a few days. Brenda, Crystal and Christopher completed one final run through the day before on September the 1st and timed it. The attack was then due to be carried out by Crystal and Christopher alone the following day on September the 2nd. Brenda and Crystal met Jose early that morning to pick up the Jeep. They then went to a Jack in the Box restaurant to pick up Christopher. Brenda was then dropped off at a Carrollton library and Crystal and Christopher travelled on by themselves to Kendra's apartment building. When they arrived, they waited for roughly 30 minutes across the street before instead driving to Kendra's place of employment. Quite disturbingly, Crystal then briefly left to do the school run. She then returned once more to Kendra's workplace. Kendra then finished work and left, trailed by the Jeep. Crystal and Christopher lost Kendra in the traffic, so they made the decision to head straight back to Kendra's apartment building. They arrived first and entered the garage just as planned. Kendra returned and pulled into her parking space. Christopher then exited the vehicle. He then walked over to Kendra's car and pulled the trigger. Kendra was now permanently out of the picture for Brenda. Crystal now claimed that although she heard the shooting, she didn't actually see it. Crystal and Christopher then left the parking garage. She then dropped Christopher off at home. Crystal then picked up her son before meeting Brenda at Jose's house to return his Jeep. The case then went to trial. Crystal Cortez agreed to be the prosecution's key witness as part of the agreement that she made.
We would follow her from her job to her house. We pretty much just found out her daily routine.
Both Christopher and Crystal were accused of murder, and their trials were held separately. Crystal received a 35-year prison term in exchange for her testimony and guilty plea to a murder charge. When Christopher's car was searched, a firearm was discovered in a side compartment by the vehicle. Forensics matched his firearm to Kendra's attack. By the time the trial took place, Christopher was ready to talk. He admitted to being hired by Brenda, hired to carry out the attack on Kendra. He also stated that Brenda promised to pay him in cash and narcotics.
What's even more incredible is that investigators had phone calls recorded from the jail. They are of conversations between Love and his girlfriend. She asked him, "Why didn't you get rid of the gun if you used it to kill Dr. Hatcher?" He replies, "I know, it was stupid as," and then he uses an expletive. Love told detectives that even though he was at the scene, it was Crystal Cortez who pulled the trigger. Also, detectives say that the video refutes that. His lawyers are trying to paint him, though, as the patsy who will probably get the death penalty if he is convicted, while Brenda Delgado and Crystal Cortez, who are the alleged masterminds behind all of this, will not face the same punishment.
When I heard that this had happened to her, I know I'm getting off topic, but I couldn't imagine who would do it. I couldn't imagine who would hurt her because nobody disliked her.
Christopher was found guilty and was sentenced to death.
It's been devastating. Nobody can get any sleep. Nobody can eat. We've all been trying to be brave for each other, and it's hard. I do feel sorry about the death of the dentist, and I do feel sorry about her family and that they have to go through something like this. And I don't think that any mother should see her child die.
Brenda attempted to evade her fate. She spent nearly 7 months in hiding before going to trial. She was even included on the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list. She was arrested in Mexico in April 2016. Only on the condition that she would not be sentenced to death, Mexican authorities agreed to extradite her. She was charged with murder after being returned to the United States. At first, Brenda's family and Ricky didn't think that she could be involved. They knew her as a wholesome, loving woman with strong Christian and family values. When he stopped their relationship, according to Ricky, they remained good friends. He even texted her the night that Kendra was shot to let her know what had happened. Brenda pledged to assist him however she could. Brenda entered a not guilty plea, and her defense claimed that she had an alibi and receipts to show that she was at Chili's restaurant when Kendra passed. Her defense said that Brenda wasn't present when Kendra was wounded. However, the prosecution's claim was that Kendra was murdered as part of a murder-for-hire plot run by Brenda. The court was informed by prosecution that Brenda wanted Kendra out of the picture for a reason. She perceived her as a barrier to achieving her goals of reuniting with Ricky once more. And that simply couldn't happen if Kendra was still around. Brenda's cousin testified in court that Brenda suffered from depression as a result of her breakup from Ricky. He claimed that Brenda offered to pay him if he used a baseball bat to attack Kendra. He didn't accept the offer. A friend of Brenda's, Jennifer, testified that Brenda was upset with Ricky for ending their relationship and that she was very fascinated with him. She said before the court that Brenda read all of his emails and followed his whereabouts on his phone. She revealed to the jury that Brenda had access to his financial accounts and even had a copy of his house key. Brenda asked many people to eliminate Kendra. Prosecution claimed that she had taken advantage of Crystal. Crystal, a struggling single mother earning $11 an hour, aspired to be like Brenda, a woman with her own apartment, education and money. Brenda was someone that Crystal looked up to. According to testimony given in court, she gave Crystal $500, and the police also discovered a receipt to back this up.
Are you guilty of the capital murder of Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, I am.
Christopher Love guilty of the murder of Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, he is.
Is Brenda Delgado guilty of the murder of Kendra Hatcher?
Yes, she is.
Those 9 seconds from Crystal Cortez this afternoon sums up nearly 4 years of work for prosecutors to try and show Brenda Delgado as the mastermind in the murder of Kendra Hatcher. Cortez, appearing today in prison scrubs, is already serving a 35-year prison sentence for murder.
The court was informed that Brenda and Crystal spoke to one another 89 times over a 2-week period, from the 22nd of August to the 4th of September, and that cell phone data also connected her to Christopher prior to the murder. After only 30 minutes of deliberation, the jury found Brenda guilty.
You, Brenda Delgado, have earned your spot on this earth behind cold steel bars for the rest of your miserable, pathetic life. And if justice could have handed you a death sentence, make no mistake, I would have been there front and center.
She received a life sentence without the possibility of parole. Do you believe justice was served here? What do you think of the sentences given? Let me know in the comments. Please boost the signal of this case by hitting like on the video. Please do join the Dark Case family by hitting subscribe now and turning on notifications for at least 2 new videos every week. Thank you to all my patrons: David James, Adi Alexander, Karen Jones, El Palmieri, James Harrington, Faster River, Stacey Krogerus, Summit Chambers and Mona Corona. Be careful out there and I'll see you soon.